Welcome to the EHshow with Neil Ravin. Founded in 2013, the EHL has become the college placement leader on the East Coast. Sit back and learn more about the next step in your junior hockey career.
Welcome to the EHshow, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto, we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who've experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin, and this is episode number 111 of the EHshow. On this week's episode, we're joined by another guest who will play a role in the upcoming EHL Frozen Finals. Chris Russo will be inside the glass for all of the EHL games, as well as providing the color commentary for all of the EHLP games in Providence. Starting off in the weekly rundown, we welcome a familiar face back inside the EHL Power Rankings and make a small swap in the EHLP. As for the Ecru Fantasy Challenge, we continue to pump Jeff's tires after another 50-point performance, and then wrap up the episode with a special What to Watch For segment.
All right, guys, another episode of the podcast, and guess what it's going to do in a couple days?
Uh-oh. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Regular season. See ya.
No, it's going to pour snow, Jeff. What I always say.
Oh, pour snow. That's right. I'm all over the place. I'm stressing out. Games are getting moved again.
But what's great?
I'm getting PTSD from my last crash in the last snowstorm.
You know what I should have done, Jeff? Because today it's so nice out. I should have gone golfing today. Like, it's that nice out. It's that nice. Is
Country Club open today? They got to be, right?
I wish. But another really busy week has just come to a close in the EHL, leading into our last week of the EHL regular season. And we have another special guest on this week. Welcome to the EHshow podcast for the second time, Chris Russo.
Hi, Leo, neighborinos.
Chris.
I had to think for the second time because we did that episode for the finals last year, probably against COVID policy. We sat very close together in one room.
I had one shot already, I believe. So that's,
yes.
Yeah.
But with that, let's get into the weekly rundown.
It's time for the Ecru's Weekly Rundown.
The EHshow Weekly Rundown is brought to you by the Junior Hockey Podcast, your home for junior hockey news, knowledge, and nonsense. Check them out at tjhpodcast.com.
We'll start by saying that this episode's probably going to be named Verse Everybody, because two of you have the shirts on that say insert team name here, verse everyone. I have
What's up, Andrew Trimble?
I have a Ducks jersey on. Justin has Walpole stuff on. Anthony, do you still have the 87's ring on? Okay, that works too. So
Chris does as well.
Yes. At least
that's all I had. I try to avoid logos, but this is just pure swag. So
we have 5 different teams represented here. It's a good day for us.
Good day.
I don't know if those are the 5 teams, though, in the EHL Power Rankings. And I don't even know where to begin with these because more than one team lost inside the top 5. So to recap what it was last week, the Little Flyers were 1, 87s were 2, Lumberjacks were 3, Avalanche were 4, and Wolves were 5. About 2 hours after we named the Little Flyers number 1, they were like, you know what, Colin Bella, if you want to just go score again. And they actually almost came back in that game. But yeah. Are they still number 1 right now, or did somebody do enough to pass them?
It's that time of the year. Teams are starting to heat up. I mean, someone we got to talk about getting. They're not going to be number 1, but the Rangers just called their game the other day. They're now on a 7-game winning streak.
Yep. Like
they're
quietly.
Starting to heat up very quietly. They're scoring goals again. They've been not giving up goals all year. Now they're starting to get their offense. Josh Grun's really heating up. But so I want them in the conversation for in the top 5, not for number 1.
And so everyone knows we have this podcast. This is the last podcast of the regular season. Of the EHL regular season, I should say. We'll be dropping one the day the play-in game singular is played for the EHL. That would still leave 1 week of EHLP regular season left. So in a way, this is the second to last EHL Power Rankings, because the next one that we do is the last one that kind of sets the table for the postseason. So They may look a little bit different because this week I'm kicking the Avs out, I think.
Completely out.
I think they have to be.
Do we put the 87s to 1?
No, because they split with the Apple Core.
Yeah, they had a pretty tough loss to Apple Core. It was 6-2 with Charles Lavoie scoring 4 times.
I think the Little Flyers still have to stay number one because not enough teams did enough behind them.
Right.
As I
That's
say
what I'm
that,
looking at. Yeah.
as I say that, the Wolves are raising their hands saying they should jump there, but I don't know if we can jump them from 5 to 1.
I would
seems a little dramatic. No, we got to move them up a few spots. The Wolves also on a 7-game win streak like the Rangers. Congrats to Andrew Trimble and Tim Kuhns and Connor Bates. They've really figured things out, Matt. This was like last year, right? With the Waffle Express when they started out slow, then they got really hot towards the end of the year. Remember at one point the Wolves had won 1 game, 2 games, and then they've really figured things out up there. They've switched out some goaltending, added the famous Eddie Gregorevs of the Yevs from a previous episode.
I got to watch him up in Laconia. I was just gonna say Liam Kilgallen looked so good. I got to watch one of their games against the Lumberjacks.
He's won what? His last 10 starts?
11.
Yeah, so. And you see that game winner by Cavandle the other day against the Avalanche? Woo! Hot, stinky. Woo, that was nasty.
Game-winning assist. Sorry. Oh. If I had said it, I would have got corrected also. But he made the play, and then Johnston put it home.
Oh, it was Johnston.
And just so everyone knows, Johnston was on the red team, which was Lauren's team in the All-Star Classic. Just
and Julius Cavandle was too.
There you go.
So both my little red All-Stars.
Unfortunately,
Cavandle with that move, and then Johnston with
it adds no more points to your fantasy because of that. No. But back on track to reset these rankings. I do think the Wolves jump up as you guys were alluding to, but I put them at 3 right now. I'd put Little Flyers still at 1, 87 to 2, Wolves at 3, and then you could maybe kick both Vermont and the Avs out.
No,
they didn't win.
Avs have not been playing the Avalanche have not been playing inspired hockey this last stretch of 10, 15 games.
They didn't win any games this past week.
Wait, so Neil, hang on. Where would BJR go?
4.
They got to go. I think 4 for BJRs.
I would go Little Flyers, BJR, New England, then New Jersey.
Whoa.
Anthony's going Rangers are totally out to number 2. Ooh, that's gonna put a smile on.
I mean, they have a 7-game winning streak, and they're still one of the best teams in the league. How can you not put them up 2? I just don't think that's fair for them.
One of the top differentials in the league as well.
We have silence.
That's just the way I see it.
All right,
I don't know
Jeff,
if I put Rangers at 2.
All right, Jeff, pick a side, 2 or 5. Because that's where
I thought we said 4.
Okay,
did we say 4?
Does that mean 3 because we have 2, 4, and 5 already covered?
We just split the difference. Throw them at 3. Hey,
I'm voting for 4.
I say 4 too. For BJR.
Anthony says 2. Lauren says 5. Chris, you gotta jump in here. Where do the Rangers go from outside to in?
You and Rich DiCaprio have that connection with those movie quotes, buddy. Let's see.
It's true. I know. He's like an adult me. And well, I'm not a child. Let me clarify that. Anyway.
that was great.
Yeah, first off, I would just want to say Anthony's objectivity bumping the 87s to 4. Put him at 2.
Rangers at 2? Wow, Chris, welcome in.
Okay.
Damn.
Now we actually have a split. So
we're overruled.
I guess it's 2 to 2. It's actually it's 2 to 1. So Justin,
executive producer, Wizard of Oz, come
pick
behind
anything,
the curtain, sir.
Pick anything but 5, please, because now we're 2-2-2, and we don't have time to bring another guest on.
And if you say receiving votes, we're gonna reach through the screen.
I'm going 4.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, woo!
I think that would set though Little Flyers 87s, Wolves 1, 2, 3, and then 5 is the next question.
Oof, toss up.
Just drop the Lumbies to 5.
You keep the Lumberjacks in right now.
I say we go to the premier rankings and we just make this a 4-team race for this week.
Easy way out.
Still late number 5. Yeah, exactly. It's me. I hate.
All right, we have 1 vote to keep the Lumberjacks at 5. Is there anybody else that has a vote for someone different?
I don't think there's really anybody that has done enough to jump in. So it's like
I don't think so.
The Avs kind of unfortunately were on like a bit more of a downturn than the Lumberjacks were. So I think Lumberjacks should drop down to 5. and just kind of leave it at that.
The silence tells me keep the Avs at 5 or the Lumberjacks at 5. So let's go with that. No receiving votes, and we just motivated the Avalanche completely.
Chris Sorella shaking his head now. Oh, out of the round. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
Before we get to the EHLP, which we're going to spend more time on this episode, I do want to touch on a few more items in the EHL. First, it's funny how each of the 4 division races are different, right? So the North is done. The Avs play the Spartans, rematch from last year, and the Wolves play the Lumberjacks, rematch from last year. Difference between Wolves and Lumberjacks last year and this year is the Lumberjacks were playing in Waterville Valley last year, so they went back and forth for all 3 games. This year, they're back in Vermont, so the Wolves host every game for that series. And from what a lot of coaches in the league have said, maybe this will fire up Vermont, those are the 2 toughest places to play, and whoever got home ice was going to win that series. So there's a belief that the Wolves will win that series. But
leads in perfect, Neil, too. I got a little stat nugget. So looking up the Wolves series with the Lumberjacks this year, Wolves won the series 4-2. They won 2 out of the last 3 matchups.
Yep.
And they've won 3 out of 4 games the Wolves have at Merrill-Fay Arena for the entire 3 games.
One of the toughest places to play. So
lines up, right?
For the East Division, the Rangers and Express are locked into 1-2. And from there, we touched on this a little bit last week. The Wizards and Warriors have a huge game coming up soon. Is that fair? Because it's supposed to be Friday. They want it to be Friday. The snow is coming Friday, though. And if they don't play Friday, it'll be Tuesday. So ideally, with each team having 2 games left and even with points, you would think whoever wins that game avoids the play-in game against the Seahawks, but we'll see how it plays out. The Central, the Railers have clinched 1, and that's all that's done so far. There's a chance for the other teams to jockey around a little bit, but it looks like we'll have a Connecticut versus Connecticut series between the Rough Riders and Chiefs, and then
all the nutmeg in the entire world.
Yes, episode. I forget what number that was. It was a great episode
right before the Newington Showcase.
But now I really want to get Chris more involved as we get to this South Division and then the EHLP, because I got to see the South a bunch last week on my little road trip down there, and it just confirmed everything that I thought before and then some. Whoever shows up, like truly shows up in the playoffs, is going to win the South. Anyone can win it. Those 4 teams are so equal.
Standings tell you that too. Standings, season series.
But if the 87s broadcasters, Chris and Anthony, speak up here, I'm going to ask you this question. If the 87s don't win, which I know that's where your hearts are pointing you, who is the next best team in that division?
I mean, for a while, I think I would have said Maryland, but as of late, I'd probably say the Little Flyers.
Yeah, Anthony's sticking with that too.
I agree with that. I mean, I said it last week that the Little Flyers look like last year's 87s team. They're just so loaded offensively, and they're a scary team to play against. They really are. I mean, like the P team too. There's just something going on over there in Philadelphia, and both programs are just having a terrific season.
So are those cheesesteaks? Did you get one of those, Neil?
I did get a cheesesteak at the rink.
Do a review, or
yeah, I had. Okay, so last Thursday was incredibly unhealthy for me, right? So I had a big breakfast sandwich from the hotel. So that's how you start the day, right? Then I get a cheesesteak from the rink. Mm-hmm. Then I ate more crab fries, which I don't even know what crab fries still even are. But it was some sort of seasoning, right? Am I right, Chris?
Has it. Old Bay, yeah.
Old Bay.
Crab fries. Crab fries are very good, and I can tell you that's more of a like Philly, Baltimore type thing. Even though Anthony and I are North Jersey, crab fries I'm pretty sure are just fries with Old Bay seasoning, which is fantastic. I've got some Old Bay popcorn in my pantry right now, so it's fantastic.
I had like 1,000 at the Flyers game last Thursday, and then the next morning I was like, I think my heart is about to come through my chest. But
that's also probably accurate.
Like I made it home before that happened, but fun trip. But Anthony mentioned this earlier, like with the Little Flyers thing. That game I went to that day was Little Flyers Rough Riders, and the Rough Riders jumped out to this I think it was either 3-0 or 4-0 lead. And then the Little Flyers were like, you know what? We're going to score now. And it was just
you were there when Colin Bella became the all-time leading scorer for the EHL.
He could have scored 8 goals in that game. Like every time he stepped on the ice, he had a chance to score. It was insane. It was absolutely insane. And what it feels like right now, and I'm wearing a Ducks jersey as I say this, right? It feels like I mentioned the rematches before for our North Division. It feels like we're on a crash course for an 87s Little Flyers matchup in the South Division Finals.
That would be good.
Yeah.
That would be.
And Maryland and Procheck just repeated that line over and over again in their locker rooms.
Terry Watt smiling.
Terry's like, I'll take that jersey back right now. Yeah.
Yep. He says, send that to Lauren or Jeff or someone else. You don't deserve it.
But that does get us over to the EHLP. We had Tyler Arrego on last week because Tyler's going to be calling the play-by-play for all the EHL games of the finals. Chris Russo's on this week because he's going to be doing the color commentary for Anthony's play-by-play for all of the EHLP games. And as we broke down all the races last week, now we get a chance to do it this week in the EHLP. Do we want to talk races first or do we want to talk power rankings first?
Let me get the power rankings out of the way.
Yeah, let's
out of the
let's
way.
Get those over with.
Okay. Well,
what was that?
They want to get it over with, Jeff, I guess. So
get it over with.
Yeah, we didn't make any changes last week because we were so stumped about what to do. It was also late at night, probably past my bedtime, to be totally honest. But for the Avalanche, they were number 1. They went out and they won the one game that they played this past week. I think it's safe to say they stay at number 1.
Yeah, they've been consistent.
Yeah, and for the Rangers, they split their games. And I know we're gonna talk about this East Division in a little bit and the race that's taking place there. Because kind of similar to how tough the South is in the EHL, I think the same can be said about the East and the EHLP. As this past week, the Rangers lost to the Warriors and then beat the Chiefs. So something to think about there. The Railers this past week, or they entered the week at 23-8-2. They won all 3 of their games to get up to 26-8-2. I'm quite disappointed because I had hyped this Rangers Railers game on my birthday, Friday, for the longest time. And it's being moved all the way out to the 9th. And they're tied in the standings. Is this as easy as the Railers go to 2 and the Rangers fall to 3?
I think so.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, Neil's birthday's Friday, if anyone didn't know.
And it's my dad and grandfather's birthday. Hey.
25th of February. It'll be the big 3-1.
Birthday day.
It's going to pour snow, buddy. You're going to be stuck inside.
Dude, what a gift.
We have all kinds of birthdays that day.
What a gift the snow is. So if we're okay with flipping them, that puts the Railers at 2, Rangers at 3, and then the Little Flyers went out and won both their games. So we're kind of staying the same. Little Flyers stay at 4.
What about the Vermont Lumberjacks? They picked up a couple wins. Do they deserve to go in 2?
But who would they take? What spot would they take? Right?
I don't think they would. We can give them votes, I think.
They got votes last week. They can get votes this week. The only team that lost the game was the Rangers, and they split their games. They lost to the Warriors, who are a good team, and they beat the Chiefs. It's kind of the same as last week, just flip the Railers and Rangers.
I would agree.
Anthony seems like he reluctantly agrees.
Keep it easy so we can have playoff time.
Okay. Well, let's talk about each division now. So let's start in the North. It's funny how I do have to make mention of this. We move the Warriors to the North, and now they get to probably most likely go to Vermont for their playoff series. Is that an automatic, we're going to need a 3rd game series? Or is that Vermont home ice advantage as important as it is for the Wolves versus them in the EHL?
I was going to say, every time I've watched a game, because I went to 2 in January, I've watched quite a few throughout the season, the Lumberjacks EMP are really good at home. They use the home ice absolutely as much as possible to their advantage, and it works for them.
I'm not saying make picks right now.
Baby.
I'm not saying make picks right now. But
you just it's what you asked.
Yes.
I think Vermont uses their home ice absolutely to their advantage. They're really good at home.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, the Wolves EHL team, won every single matchup at Merrill Frey versus the Lumberjacks this year. 3 games in, 3 wins for the Wolves. Lumberjacks, can you do that with Hlp Arena?
I guess the tough part that I'm finding is like the Lumberjacks going to the Wolves EHL and Warriors going to the Lumberjacks EHLP. Those are great matchups. And maybe if they face somebody else, the team that loses that series wins that series, if that makes sense. Like the Warriors have had a great year in the EHLP.
Yep.
Is it just a fate though that they have to go to Vermont?
It's the Trey King show up in Vermont.
But then the other matchup, there is a chance it's not that, right? If the Lumberjacks lose out and the Warriors win out, there is a chance that the Warriors can pass them, but there's a lot of help that would need to be had. But for the Wolves and Avalanche, it looks like that matchup is destined. Are we gonna give the Wolves any bulletin board material right now, or do we feel that we're destined, as I said before, for that Little Flyers 87s matchup in the EHL? Are we destined for another rematch, Avalanche versus Lumberjacks in the North Finals EHLP? Because that was the matchup last year. Are we destined for that same thing?
I was going to say Vermont prevailed. Vinny Calgieri was pretty sour at the Frozen Finals about it. Thought he should have been there. Do they seek revenge this year?
Do you remember when he decided to take the trophy out of my hotel room and went for a run with it?
Yes.
Yeah. He said, "This is mine," and left. But does it feel like we're destined for that again?
I think the Avalanche P, yeah, but we've talked about, I mean, we've all picked a lot of these P guys. Nick Vasilyevs, Lane Brubaker-Egner. Neil's exciting league email went out this week to everybody and all the coaches putting in their MVPs, rookie of the years. We're starting to see all these different names shuffle in. I would say we're probably on that crash course. I think the Avalanche offensively may be a little deeper this year than they were last year at the premier level. So I think that it would be a heck of a series, and you might see the Avalanche prevail. Sorry, Seth Gustin. I know you're a massive fan of the EHL, one of our new fans we heard. Love it. I don't know, but I think this Avalanche Premier team has been lights out, and they've been consistent all year. And yeah, it seems like that might be the crash course, Neil. Avs Lumberjacks P round 2 in 2022.
If that is the matchup, last year when they faced each other, the Avs won game 1, the Lumberjacks won game 2 in overtime, and then they won game 3 in double overtime to make it to their first ever trip to the EHLP Frozen Finals. And the Avalanche EHLP have never been to the Frozen Finals. This is their 3rd year in the league. So yeah, interesting to watch. I mentioned this before.
We maybe see Avalanche P make it, but not Avalanche E.
When you submit your bracket, Jeff, by all means, go right ahead and do that.
Right?
Go right ahead and do that, because your face will get printed out and put on every single stall in the Avalanche locker room.
Hello. Good to see you.
But we get to the East.
Carl Center, Sony. How are you?
We get to the East, which I mentioned feels like it's as tough as the South is in the EHL. So I'll ask this question again. Are we destined for a Railers Rangers rematch? Yeah. Because that was the matchup last year.
Were we listening to the end of that on the ride down to Westchester?
We were in the car.
In the caboose.
We were in the car. Yes.
We were in the tank, not the car.
I rented a GMC Yukon.
Yeah.
And I had a great time driving it. I didn't hit anything until I hit the curb in the parking lot of the hotel when we pulled in. Remember that? Just drilled the curb.
I was like, oh, all right.
I spilled a little bit of the tomato sauce from a leftover calzone in the back, but I remember that I did clean it up.
Oh, remember the shuffle? Remember you guys were all there for that. Minus Lauren and Justin. The shuffle of us in and out of that thing.
You guys were all there for that. Minus 2 of the 6 of us.
You guys were all there. Well, quick math. Minus 2. But yeah, that was fun shuffling us all of us in and out of
but
giant Yukon.
Does it feel like we're destined for that? Because the tough part about the playoffs is, and I've learned this in my time in this league, you're going to have teams that get knocked out that had great seasons, right? So the one we just talked about, the Warriors EHLP team has had a great season. The Seahawks EHLP team has had a great season. Walpole's has had a solid year. Is somebody going to get in the way of that Railers Rangers potential rematch? Or is that where we're going with this? Is that what we think it's going to be?
I was going to say asking Anthony and Chris Russo about the defending champion 87's premiere. They've seemed to heat up in the second half. Could they be a team that maybe gives some of these teams an issue?
I'll defer to Anthony first.
Ooh.
Wait, so are we going to the South Division right
I don't
now?
know. Jeff just skipped it. He didn't want to
Oh,
answer
sorry,
the
yeah.
question.
I was going to
He
say,
skipped it.
because I can talk about
He said,
the
forget
Rangers
the
and Railers.
East,
I can,
it's
yeah.
Yeah, but I asked this question because we're bringing 4 teams to the EHLP finals this year. And if you look at the way things are shaping up right now, if the teams that are in first place in their division all each win in the playoffs and win their division, punch their ticket there, our 4th team, our at-large team, on paper right now comes from that East Division. Unless something crazy happens along the way and somebody gets upset. Somebody could get upset in that division. Are the Seahawks primed to upset someone, or are we destined for that Rangers-Railers series?
I think so. I don't think the Railers were the absolute unbeatable team that we saw at the start of the season, where they've cooled off a little bit. Teams have been able to beat them. So, yeah, I think that a team like the Seahawks could pull off an upset or move on.
A team that you saw 1,000 times against the 87. Sorry, you go, Chris.
No, it's fine. I could tell you this year, look, Anthony and I have said this multiple times, that we think that the 87s and probably the Railers are 2 of the, I would say the Junior Rangers are up there too. Avalanche, obviously. There are a lot of great programs in this league, but 87s and Railers, top to bottom, from an on-ice standpoint, at the EHL, at the EHLP, we're proud here, but from the broadcasting standpoint for us and for the production standpoint from the Railers, I was lucky enough to stand next to Trevor Blackburn for much of those Frozen Finals last year. 2 of the best run organizations, top to bottom. And I would have to imagine it's going to be, look, you guys know my specialty is the South, but I would have to imagine it's going to be Boston and the Railers again, I would think.
And the great point that you brought up, Anthony, is the Railers got out to such a hot start that it was almost impossible for them to maintain that pace, right? We talked about on this podcast for, I couldn't tell you how long, how it took them, it felt like forever to give up double-digit goals, right? They had all those shutouts in a row.
They were one of the last teams too, as far as, it was the double-digit goals. Never mind. I was thinking of another stat. That was the EHL.
And part of that was Xavier Lapierre, right? Who began the year at the EHLP level and justifiably so is with the EHL team now. It's no slouch to Cam Wickens, right? But it's going to be interesting to see if that plays out, because just like the Avalanche will be looking for revenge over the Lumberjacks, if that's the series, the same can be said for the Rangers versus the Railers. But that gets us to the South, where
now I can ask the question.
Well, I'm gonna be a broken record again, right? Like I've said this, I couldn't tell you how many times in this podcast, but are we destined again for Little Flyers versus 87s? Are the Chiefs gonna make some noise in that division?
The Chiefs can definitely make some noise. That at the EHLP level, they're a big team. They are a very physical team. And I think that those two combined with age and experience, this is a team that can use that to their advantage. I think that kind of like what we had always said about Team Maryland last season, they're a team that is probably built for playoff hockey, where they have a lot of jam into their game. And whoever they face in the first round, I think they're going to give their opponents a very tough time advancing. So I think for the Chiefs, they are definitely a team that could surprise people and win a round and even potentially come out of the South.
I will say that at least as we record this, the Chiefs have a lot more games in hand than most of these teams. I will say they also have a much tougher schedule, but based on the amount of games they have left, they're only 1 point back of the 87s. It looks like they very well could end up with the 2 seed. Actually, as we record this, they theoretically could end up with a 1 seed, although that's highly unlikely. But they are more than, it's 125 miles, right?
Yep.
Yeah, they could end up with home ice against would be the 87s, because we know the Rough Riders are the Rough Riders. The Renegades are definitely ending up with fourth. The Chiefs could get home ice for the entire series. And look, they've played the 87s well this year. I could see Connecticut making some noise. If you have to go play 2 or 3 games on the road, it's not easy. It's funny, the 87s this year, where the P team is now, where the EHL team was, it's kind of the opposite of what it was around November, early December, before the EHL team went on its huge run. And then the P team kind of fell off, but they've won 6 of 9 in the new year. The other thing is, I didn't even think about it. They've only played 2 games at Jersey Shore Arena in the new year, and they've only played 3 since Thanksgiving. So, they've gotten stronger since 2022 started. So I don't think it's a given that it's Little Flyers 87s. I think it's more of a given that it's going to be the Little Flyers, because the Renegades are a little easier to face. But 87's Chiefs might actually end up being the best series out of that division if we. Yeah,
it's a fair point. And I guess to the stat that you just brought up, it's going to be tough because the Chiefs will host every game in that series, right? But does it help the 87s in that they've been playing so much on the road lately that they're going to be more accustomed and ready for it? Will that help them?
Yeah, I think so. Just like what Chris said, I mean, 3 home games since Thanksgiving? That's ridiculous. I mean, I wonder who's responsible for that.
Yeah, let's talk about who makes the schedule here, Anthony, right? Let's go back to the original episode of this podcast and talk about the schedule. This one's not.
Yep.
Our second favorite segment.
And the other thing about this 87's P team, and Chris and I have brought it up numerous times on the podcast, this is a super young team. Like 75% of this team played with the Jersey Shore Whalers 16U team last season. So for a lot of them, it's their first taste of junior hockey. A lot of players who were on the championship team for the EHLP for the 87s, they're playing for the 18U team right now, but they're playing youth hockey. So the only player currently on the roster who won that championship, as I'm showing my ring off to the camera,
that's it,
is Nick Mulder. Originally, Rob Calise played a couple of P games early this season, but he's back with the 18U team. So right now it's just Nick Mulder. He's the only player that is active from last season's team. So I think on one hand, it'll be tough for them, but because they played so many road games, if they do have to face the Chiefs in Newington, then yeah, they'll be ready for it. And I think that they can put up a heck of a fight.
Well, that's what I think the difference also is between the 87s and the Railers. We got to see the 87s and the Railers in the final last year in the EHLP final. And I think the Railers just developed a little more quickly, but that's also because, again, Anthony's absolutely right. The 87s have one of the youngest teams in the league. And the fact they're even as good as they are right now is something for the development of these guys. For only one guy to come back, really, with Kalisa, the 18U, only one guy to come back. I think they have, you'll see this with a lot of teams. I think they have a pretty good top 6 with the O'Briens, Will and Anthony, no relation. Olensky, Boker, Alexander Haar has a lot of pure talent. And it's, kind of Caden Miller, Lucas Barnett, kind of varies. And then they're going to have Ian Lindbergh come down from the EHL roster and put down onto the P team, kind of the way that Owen Newhouse was put onto the P team last year and had a really good run during the postseason. They ended up winning. And I would say that Jason Larico has really emerged as a fantastic goaltender in his first year with the EHLP program.
So before we get to fantasy, Chris, because you're not going to be here for the next time that we do this, you get to do it now. Since you're the color guy for all the EHLP games, what 4 EHLP teams are we going to see in Providence? On the spot right now. You weren't ready for pressure.
Neil's been doing this to us all season, so enjoy this one.
Oh, man, I'm going to make so many people angry. Okay.
I mean, our group, the rest of the podcast, I think you realize this is coming in a week, so be prepared.
This is a tease.
Okay, well, just got to remember the format in the first place. Well,
the 3 division winners, and then
3 division, and then the best regular season record if you get to the second round. So I would say I think the Railers are going to be one of them.
Okay.
I'd probably say the Railers and BJR are going to be two representatives from the East.
So one team from last year, one team that wasn't in last year, like that.
And then you need a North champion and a South champion.
Yeah, it really is a toss-up between the Avs and the Lumberjacks. I'll stick with the Avs. That's probably the safe pick.
Okay.
Ooh, two new teams, Rangers and Avs.
And then your division. You save the South for last.
Oh boy. Can I do process of elimination? I'm going to say no Chiefs, no Renegades. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Hey, there you go. Two down, two left.
Oh man.
Who wins? Little Flyers versus 87s in the South Division Finals.
I almost think of it as, when the 87s took the Little Flyers to overtime after the last time being beaten by them 6-1, it's kind of a Pyrrhic victory.
Yep.
Let's go with New Jersey. I'll take the Sevens.
The defending champions get back to the Frozen Finals, but this time for the first time in Providence. So
and that would make two new teams and two teams from last year. The Railers and 87s will return. Rangers and Avs will be two new guys. I like that.
I'll just point out for Mark Catron in the locker room, it very well could be it very well could be Connecticut. I don't know, but it's. Oh God! Just don't make me a meme in that locker room. That's
for the Little Flyers. The last time we had the finals in Providence, both teams made it. Remember that, Jeff?
I do.
And then last year when we had the finals in Philly, neither team made it.
Neither made it. When you were right there.
Catch-all was pissed at me. Anyways,
and
with that,
I don't think he even came. Right? We were like, oh, maybe Mark.
He came.
Nope.
He came.
He did. I don't remember seeing
him. It was brief. But with that, let's get to fantasy.
It's time for the Ecru Fantasy Challenge.
And the Ecru Fantasy Challenge is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EShow, that's ESHOW, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
Jeff, you suck. Guess why?
Because I'm almost near first?
No, because you put up 60-plus points 2 weeks in a row, and you only got to 50 this week.
Still on the week. Hey, I hate picking last up. Picking last friggin' blows. Wow,
welcome to my hell. It sucks.
Almost had to get the goal horn out there. Executive producer Squitieri almost dropped a F-bomb.
So,
I
still keep telling myself that there's time left, but there's not that much time. There's not that much time. Isn't. So for this
that Apple Watch.
My God. For this week's fantasy picks, we are selecting players for the day that we're dropping this, the 24th through the 7th, because of the different games that are being canceled. I'd hate to have someone pick someone based off a game that's supposed to be the 25th, but then it falls outside the window. So these are our last fantasy picks, just like the last power rankings for the regular season. Then when we get to the postseason, because the series just don't line up at all with the EHLP falling later than the EHL, we're going to have 2 rounds of fantasy left for just EHL picks, first and second round. So I do have a little bit of time left because there's the bracket also. So, and if I pick a perfect bracket, I get enough.
He's going to fudge the numbers to
I get enough points to jump all the way up by 1.
He's gonna fudge the numbers.
So to recap this past week.
Well, because the fantasy challenge at this point is becoming Raven Ball, where the rules are just changing.
If I had won both years that we've done this, I would agree, Anthony. But year 1, I did not win. Jeff won.
I did.
I did not change the rules in year 1. To recap last week's picks, we'll start with Lauren, who's picking first this week. She had Jordan Camilla get her an assist. Alex Newton, it was a really nice goal, but just 1 goal and an assist. Lenny Perno played actually really well in those 2 losses to the Lumberjacks, to the Wolves, but didn't win either game. Nothing for Brandon Clark. A goal, an assist, and a power play point for 6 fantasy points for Max Greco. Even in a down week, she puts up 20.4 points.
Yay. Let's go.
Your new picks.
So I said heavy hitters last week, but for the responses I got when I turned in my picks, these are some heavy hitters.
This is against the rules.
Some people were very salty about this. I'm excited.
Cheating.
So starting out up front, it should be pretty obvious that he should be one of the first to be selected. Colin Bella from the Rough Riders. Kid is gross. He just puts up all kinds of points. Don't leave him alone with the puck because he's going to do good things with it, whether he gets it in the net or decides to share the wealth and pass it off to somebody else to put it in. He just all kinds of points all the time. On defense, this guy has definitely turned his game around in the second half of the season. Mr. Dom Charco from the Chiefs. He started out a little quiet in the first half, but then towards the end of that first half and at the beginning of the second half, and since he has just taken off and doing a lot better for himself, getting some points and getting himself on the score sheet when he needs to. So that'll be good. And for goaltending, I'm excited to pick this guy up. I have loved watching him play this season. Mr. Stefan Kulhanek, I love him. He's such a character and he's so good when he's in net. So I'm excited to have him back. And for my utility pick, another big goal scorer, point getter, Colin Callanan from the Apple Corps. He is just so good at what he does, just like Colin Bella. And he's someone you don't want to leave him alone with the puck because he does good things with it. He recently hit 100 career points, so congrats for that. And I'm excited to pull him in. And for my EHLP pick, I'm picking a familiar name for Team Low. I'm bringing back Phil Parker from the Walpole Express. He's, I think, right around like a 2 point per game player for the P. He leads the league. He's just so good, and he's one of the ones in the P. You don't want to leave him alone with the puck too. He's a big dude. He's not afraid to throw his weight around. The puck almost always ends up in the net or passed off to someone to put in the net if he has it. So I'm excited for this group.
Still cheating. You can't pick both of those guys at once. Just saying. Can't pick
I
Bella.
literally picked these and Neil goes, I'll take Callanan. Will you though? Because he's already on my team.
Got you, Lo. I called him out. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. I say repeat there.
Colin Bella, by the way, 36 goals. He's getting very close to 40. And in that Q&A I had with him, he has a bet going on with his older brother to see if he can put up a 40-goal season in his age-out year, just like AJ.
There's 5 games left. He needs 5 goals to pass him.
Get that cup of coffee from Donut Delight.
Goal a game.
Kidding?
Yeah.
Possible.
I was going to say, there's a game, a couple weeks ago, he had like 4 or 5 goals.
He can.
So I'm not worried.
Yeah, I think he gets it. He has to.
Okay. Well, to recap my week, I got to pick second, even though I put up 32.4 points. Connor McDonnell.
Golf clap for you.
Connor McDonnell is my guy this year.
Yeah,
McDowell?
seriously.
I said Connor McDonnell. I haven't.
Connor
I haven't.
McCallum,
It is.
Connor
I had to do the
McDonnell,
PA. It is apparently McDonnell.
Yeah.
Well, I learned the hard way on this podcast,
Yes, it is.
Chris. Trust me. But he had 2 goals, 4 assists this past week. Matt Herrick had an assist. Nathan Miller got a win in his only game that he played for the Rangers. 3 assists for Jake Murphy and an assist for Ethan Decker. All led to 32.4 points for me, which I
Not too bad.
thought was a good week.
Used to be.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That was such a it's a good job. You're trying. Good job.
buddy. We're so
Golf
proud of
claps.
you. Oh, a picture of your cheeks. Oh,
Yeah,
good
so-
job, buddy. Yeah.
My picks this week, we're going to start up front because the game I got to see this kid play just now, and I'm wearing a jersey of their team. Tyler Ebeling, I watched them put up 4 points in the game against Maryland. They have 4 games left, 2 games against the Rough Riders, 2 games against the Little Flyers. A simple 4 points per game is all I ask. It's not too hard to ask. Anyways, to defense, Kieran Chung is only an 0-4 defenseman. He's a legit candidate for Rookie of the Year this year. When Colin Bella is scoring, he is assisting. He had 5 assists this past week. I'm going with Nathan Miller again because he only gave me 1 start last week. And with the way that this thing is trending, the Avalanche have opened up the door a little bit to the Rangers for the regular season title. And with 4 games left, Rich, just play Miller. It's simple. Just play him all 4 wins. I'll take the points. I've wanted to pick this last guy for a while. I think he's quietly one of the best 0-2s in the league. Let's just hope that he does what he did for Jeff the week Jeff picked him. That's Jack Lee. I think he put up 24 fantasy points that week. Jeff picked him. So that was that was disgusting. And then for my P player this week, I'm going with another 0-2. It's Nathan Guinness. The Wolves have a bunch of games between now and the end of this fantasy week. I think they play 6 times or 7 times. So we're gonna go strictly off game count and hope that it leads to something special. So we'll get to Anthony now. Anthony, I put up 32.4 points. Thought that was good. And you put up 47.4 points. And most weeks would probably pick first, but because Jeff exists, you don't. Will Halecki got you 3 goals, 3 assists, 1 power play point. Declan House, 3 assists. Ronan Mobley, a win with 9.4 fantasy points. Adam Beauvais, a goal and 4 assists. And Dylan Szabo, a goal and an assist, 47.4 points. Who do you got for the last week of the regular season in the EHL?
All right, as I try to make a comeback from the basement of the EHshow Fantasy Challenge, let's go with the Kansas native on the Connecticut Rough Riders, Dallas D'Amato. He has 4 points in his last 2 games. He's been playing well. He will be at my forward position. For defense, hopefully he won't get suspended this time now that I pick him, Ryan Bro. He had a point against Maryland in their 4-3 win over them. So he'll be my defenseman back on Team Anthony. Going to stick with the ProTech Junior Ducks, and I'm going to go with their goaltender, Trey Miller. He only has 1 win in his last 3 starts. However, in 2 of those 3 starts, he's faced over 40 shots. In another start, he faced 38 shots. That was a 2-1 loss against the Little Flyers. So he has been playing well. He has been stopping pucks. And if the offense can click in front of him, then he'll be able to get back on the win column. No problem. For my utility player, I'm going with Damon Dulac. He has 35 points in 41 games this season, including a 2-point game against the Seahawks. 2 points on Tuesday in their win against the Seahawks. And I have to go for the big gun, going back to the player who absolutely raked in points for me the first time we picked the EHLP players, and that's Trent King. No cheap goals, all highlight reel tucks. Trent King with 3 points in his last 2 games, including 2 points in their last one against the New England Wolves back on February 20th. So Trent King, welcome back to Team Anthony.
When you picked him last, he had 2 goals, 3 assists, and 3 power play points for 15 total points. So that was a good week. And speaking of good weeks, this is just getting ridiculous now, Jeff. The last 3 weeks, you've put up 66.4, 63.4, and 51.2. So technically, you are trending downwards. But still in the 50s, as Colin Callahan got you a goal and 3 assists, 1 shorthanded point.
What a week for him, honestly.
A goal and assist and a power play point for Chris Blango. 2 wins for Joseph Henson. 2 goals, 3 assists, and a game winner for Josh Grund. A goal, an assist, and 2 power play points for Jaden Blackburn. And what didn't count for Blackburn was a shootout winner, because those don't count, right? So it could have been even.
You mean that shootout that I wasn't allowed to include in top place?
Wow. Okay. Anyways, 51.2 points for Jeff. Can you put up 50 again, Jeff?
I'm 6.4 points away from eclipsing or tying Lauren Smith. 6.4. That was like 90-something points a few. I know.
This is my penthouse.
Into the last week we go, and Lowe is in some trouble, kids. We'll see, Neil. We'll see.
Penthouse is up for lease.
Yeah, it's up. I'm coming, kid. I'm coming. Love you, but so let's see. Where do we start this week in the Jeff zigzag of my picks?
Here we go.
We're gonna go with forward. Nick Weber, picked him many moons ago. As we said, the Apple Core, one team that plays a lot this week. I believe it's 5 total games. Weber's been good as of late. Has been really good all season. 52 points in 37 games. Really big power play guy. He's got 14 points on the power play. Even has a game winner and a shorthanded assist in there. But on his last 3 games, he has 2 goals and 6 assists. So hoping Weber can continue to dominate. And then Charles Lavoie. I'm surprised you guys didn't pick him after his 4-goal game. I'm not surprised that Anthony didn't pick him, because those 4 goals came against the 87s. But I'm going to go with Lavoie. Go with the hot hand. Scored 4 goals in 1 game versus the 87s last week. He's up to 19 points in 24 games, so almost a point per game player. So he is going to be my utility. So I went with those two first. We're following along at home because they're on the same team. And then we're going to continue the zigzag to, let's see, my defense, Tim Duffy, late pick. I was going to pick Kieran and Chung. And then I believe, Anthony, who did you pick for D? Because you had someone else.
I picked Chung.
You picked Chung. We'll go with Duffy. Chiefs play a lot this week. He's had a goal and 5 assists in his last 5 games. He's always a guy in the back end that, like Captain Sherko, can put in points with the vengeance. Not sure about my goalie pick. I went with Jeremy Connor. 87's played twice this week. Owen Haynes may start one of those games. I don't know about
a lot of confidence right now.
Yeah, not a lot of confidence. Unless Coach Hooley, love you. Can you start Jeremy both games? Then maybe we get some. It's that point of the year where I was trying to look at schedules, and I don't know. Some teams might be resting players. Then we got that extension because of the snow into the 7th, so that kind of screwed me up. But we'll go with Jeremy Connor and hope he plays both games, and we'll see what happens there. Jackson Duquette. I've been good at finding these Railers guys this year. I found Jack Lee. There's someone else in the Railers I think I found too, but I'm going to go back and remember that. Or maybe it was someone else in the P. But either way, Jackson Duquette has been very good of late. 2 goals, 3 assists in his last 5 games. He's up to 28 points in 36 games. Didn't want to go with the sexy Connor McAleer. Wanted to go with the Jackson Duquette, who's kind of the under-the-radar guy because we picked McAleer a few times this season. So we're going to go with Duquette because he's been pretty good recently, and I got faith. We'll get points. Will I get over 60? I don't know. Will I pass Lauren? I hope, but
No,
no,
you will not.
Lowe says no.
There's a Duquette. There's a Doucette. And one thing that's consistent about Jeff, you never know what order he's going to pick his players in.
You never know. Tune in next week, but not next week. Tune in 2 weeks.
The standings where they stand right now, Lauren is at 673.2 points. Jeff's at 666.8 points. Anthony's 617.4, and I'm at 604.8. So after this week, we'll figure out just exactly how many points the bracket is worth. So with that, let's get to what to watch for.
Before we wrap things up, here's what to watch for this week in the EShow.
What to Watch For is presented by Hockey TV, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action through the 2021-2022 season.
So I'm going to give each of you the chance to go in 2 directions here. You can either tell me a game that you're watching or a couple games that you're watching, or because between now and the next time we drop a podcast, all of the awards will be voted on and announced. You can tell me so-and-so is going to win this award. It's up to you what direction you want to go and who wants to start. No one's raising their hand.
Throwing a little wrench in, eh?
I mean, I guess I'll go with a little bit of both. I'm like hoping to try to get out to a couple of the last few Red Train EHLP games. Are going to be nearby in Haverhill, and I think Breakaway is the other one. There's like 2 places they'll be within a short driving distance of me, so I might go try to see some of those, watch my fantasy pick in action. And I would be surprised if he wasn't nominated and even won some of the awards. Philip Parker has just been leading the P this season, so if he doesn't at least get like forward of the year there, like I don't know what everybody else has been watching, because he's just running away with it this season, even with a few suspensions here and there and games getting moved around and things like that. He's so good. Like if he doesn't win something, this doesn't make any sense.
Demand a recount.
Yes.
She just covered both. Who wants to go next? Games to watch or prediction on someone who wins an award?
You can't really go through the North. The North's not interesting anymore. That's done. Guess the South would be something that we gotta watch. No, it's just the facts right now with the regular season standings. The North is set. We're set.
Sorry,
for
North, you're boring.
matchups, so.
According to Jeff.
Yeah, a little boring right now. South is still sexy. We'll see if the little Flyers, Rough Riders, we'll see what they can do. I know it's like my favorite word of the year.
There's the name of the podcast. Sexy versus everybody.
We gotta get you a thesaurus. Get you some new words.
I'll take this one next, Jeff, because you're thinking about it. So,
let's go.
Little Flyers play the Ducks twice coming up here. It may turn into 5 times in a row if that's the playoff matchup too, because it's the last 2 games of the regular season for each team. And if things play out the way that they could, and I'm predicting a 3-game series, 5 straight matchups, black, orange, and white versus each other. They'll probably want to kill each other.
And not only that, if ProTech wins both their games against the Little Flyers, they have a legitimate shot at overtaking Maryland, right, in the standings. Mm-hmm. Where Team Maryland, who was in first place for a good portion of the season and looked like a powerhouse, could very well finish in 4th place. And not even like they took a bad nosedive or anything. It's just that the division is that good.
I know what you're saying. I guess you're saying Neil picked Maryland to go to the finals. Neil, own up to it. You picked them to go to the finals, and they're not playing well.
No.
Who made the schedule?
But if you want to segue that, you could also tune in on Friday, 87s versus Team Maryland. I'll be on the call for that.
If we have it, yeah. We'll see. You might have just given them false. Wait, this is going to come out later anyway. Who cares? It's going to give them false advertising.
Yes.
But that is interesting, though, to talk about though. Like, Maryland's lost 4 in a row. Your last 2 games against the 87s and Little Flyers. You could potentially have lost 6 in a row going into the playoffs. That is something that Coach Fusco and the boys of Maryland do not want. So you got to get off the schneid, win at least one of those games, and try to go into the playoff season on a little better note. But yeah, I would say stay tuned for that one. Absolutely.
Well, Maryland, you're also trying to play up to. I'm trying to remember if I know it's more than 125 miles to 87. It's got to be more than 125 to ProTech then, because ProTech's north of.
Yes.
Yeah. So you really, I would think you're also trying in a way to, if you can't get home ice, you're at least trying to play the Little Flyers on the road.
100%. Because you know that at least you get to host the game, even if you're the lower seed. Yeah. If you play the other teams, you're not hosting.
Can I also just add one more thing, what to watch for?
Of course.
I would also watch out for Michael Tersoni. I think that he's in the conversation for forward of the year. Also watching out for any sharp angle shot goals that he might score, because I know that Lauren loves to include those in the top plays.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
I'm just saying, I've seen a pattern. A lot of sharp angle shots getting into the top plays.
I mean, they're good.
That is a great fire back for being in the basement all year long, Anthony, because I'm in the basement now. I'm in 4th place now, right? Only thing I will say to Jeff's point that he just brought up, because I was thinking back on this last year. Last year at this time, Maryland played the Rough Riders their last 2 games of the regular season, and then the Rough Riders their first 2 games of the playoffs. Maryland last year, their last 6 games of the regular season, Jeff, lost all 6. And then swept the Rough Riders. So maybe, according to Fusco, he's got his team right where he wants to.
This is right We're just business as usual. This is what we do. We lose 6 in a row. We go in, we clap the first round, and then I don't know. That's a team that we've said has led the Who Are They segment this year. I feel like they win that award.
But that's the best question is, like, you can make a case that all 17 EHL and all 12 EHLP teams have their own unique direction that they're taking into the playoffs. And when we get to the playoffs, is there the ability to go in a different direction?
Right. Can you erase that? Can you?
The Avs are struggling mightily in the EHL right now because they've been clinched at number 1 for the longest time.
Right. They haven't really had anything to play for a long time. And that's an issue. Saw that years ago with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Perfect time to bring this in. They got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets. Hey-oh! Didn't have anything to play for a long time, and that's an issue.
They're
that's
playing
a great point to bring up.
They're playing a Seacoast Spartans team that knows they can beat them in the playoffs because they did last year, too, right?
Yeah. So that was another thing that I looked at before the podcast today too, was just profiling that matchup after you sent out the email. Avs have won all 4 matchups by scores of 7-0, 5-0, 4-1, and 3-2. And they still have 1 game left this weekend. We'll see what Mother Nature brings. But there aren't a lot of returners for the Spartans either. So like Anthony was talking earlier about the 87s premiere for the Spartans, Cooper Board, he was there. But I mean, they've got their own issues with goaltending right now. Since Franchi left, it's been Adams, Profaci, that Avalanche offense. You can't be having goaltending issues against the Tersonis, Hotchkisses, Carlsons of the world. But then look at flip side. Avalanche have had Mobley has not been perfect in the second half either. He's been kind of shaky. So like you said, can they delete the regular season, issues, the Spartans, and think back to last year when they were able to pick them off, or does that kind of continue into that series? And Seacoast has issues, and do the Avs get into a quick sweep, or what happens? I don't know. Stay tuned.
What were you gonna say, Lauren?
I was gonna say, speaking on the Spartans is a bit off topic, but Ty Franchi, recent Rookie of the Week for his college now, so good on him. He's been looking good for them this season.
UCHC Rookie of the Week. Jeff, I put Chris on the spot earlier, so I'll put you on the spot now. You mentioned Mobley. Mobley versus Miller, goalie of the year. Who wins?
I go.
You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer.
I go Miller. Well, I like that because that was something else I was thinking of bringing up too, Niels, when you just said about talking about the races. And for MVP, forward of the year, if you will, Tersoni, Callan, and Bella, I feel like are three really popular names. For goaltender of the year, Mobley, Miller. I go Miller just because I feel like Miller's body of work this season, he's had very few blips on the radar, if you will, very few bad games. So I would go Miller there. The guy leads the entire league in shutouts in its entire existence, has passed a lot of really big names on that list. A lot of guys that came through the very same building that he's in the Breakaway Ice Center too. And yeah, I think that we saw Miller last year. He was a force, and I think he's going to be the backbone of a Rangers team that we'll see. Are they going to be able to go on another deep run again this year? Josh Grun's really started to pick it up. He had an unbelievable game-winning goal the other day, little top shelf special, not an off angle special, but it was a top corner goal.
Well,
it was a beauty.
Between now and the next time that we record this podcast, a lot of answers will be made for a lot of these questions. Final playoff seeds, awards in both divisions, and how much snow we're going to get on Friday. So,
yeah.
So stay safe during the storm. Anthony and Chris, I know you guys want to call that game Friday, so I hope it happens for you. But if it doesn't, it will happen next week, most likely. Keep an eye on the website and social media for all of the changes here. And let's enjoy the final week of the regular season.
Thanks for listening to the EShow. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.